4x4 Club Challenge is brought to you by Bridgestone, South Africa. It was a lovely Saturday morning in November, but at the Geratech vehicle testing facility near Pretoria, a storm was brewing. It was day one of the 2013 Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge final, and the tension as the 30 teams arrived at the predetermined meeting point was palatable. The reason for this liaison on an open soccer field was simple. Bridgestone South Africa's Daniel Barbosa was to announce a radical change in the rules of engagement for this final event. After months of hearing that this type of 4x4 has this advantage and that 4x4 has that advantage, Barbosa faced a near impossible task to make the final as fair for a Mercedes-Benz Geländewagen as it would be for a Suzuki Jimny or an Isuzu double cab Bakkie or a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. So he came up with a cunning plan. He would provide a controlled 4x4 for each obstacle. 10 of the obstacles would be set up by the respective 4x4 clubs, and one obstacle belonged to co-sponsors Conqueror and Opposite Lock. Essentially, each team had to drive the same supplied 4x4 at an obstacle. When Barbosa broke the news, some of the competitors looked rather stunned. But as the bigger picture became clearer, the consensus was that this would be the most fair and rational 4x4 competition ever, and that it would now really be about driver and navigator skills, as well as a team's ability to adjust and adapt.
Change is always good, simple as that, because you stick to the basic stuff every year type of thing.
What an interesting way to level the playing field. Excellent, excellent.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the 2013 Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge Final. It's the day of reckoning, and the teams congregated at the same soccer field. Here, a very quick vehicle scrutineering process took place, since the teams will drive in supplied vehicles. And after a briefing on the ins and outs of the day, it was time to get the final, well, off the road.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's an open play field today, and I think it's going to be great.
The tree drivers are going to win, and the guys that don't know how to drive and rely on their vehicles are going to have an impressive time. So.
This is Obstacle 1. It's a tough old climb up and over some rocks, and all the teams have to use a slightly juiced up Suzuki Jimny, as sponsored by Montana Suzuki in association with the ADA training facility. Our first customers are the winners of the Land Rover Owners Club event, Alex van der Horst and Adriaan Smit. Let's see how the Landy Defender crew adapts to the small Jimny.
Alles hier spelen, je kunt wachten tot het wordt gewoon.
That's a reverse penalty. Now just the climb, and oh dear, the Jimny spins to a halt here. Alex takes another run at it, and this time there's enough momentum in the bank to take them up and over the climb. This is Warren Voss and Storm Austin, who finished third in the Landy Club event, but it doesn't start well for the team. They stall the Suzuki, but soon get going again.
Be careful of this pole now. Perfect. Perfect, Dad. Moving around with that jump. There we go.
And they make light work of that rocky part that had caught out the first team. So that's not a bad start at all for this crew.
You know, I'm used to driving a Land Rover, so I stalled it unfortunately. But it can turn sharp and it goes through amazingly small spaces.
This is Obstacle 2, and it was set up by the Jeep Club. Here the teams have to use a Jeep Grand Cherokee CRD, sponsored by Canopy and Wecker Center in Centurion. They also manufacture off-road bumpers. Here the teams have to negotiate some tight descents and climbs and turns and reverses in a vehicle they don't know from a bar of soap. So let's see how the Isuzu Off-Road Club's Davy Fulmer and Ignis Duplessis roll. It looks like Davy is battling with the steering some, and oh dear, he kills one pole dead with that turn. For the reverse test, Ignis jumps out to give some direction. Remember, points are deducted for every stop too, so the idea is to drive slow and smoothly. Not so easy if you have to jump behind the steering wheel of a vehicle you've never driven before. Darby makes it through in the end, but he has lost quite a few points along the way. Since this obstacle is more about mastering the turning circle and steering of the Jeep, let's head on to the next obstacle. This is obstacle 3, and it's the Nissan 4x4 Club's little reverse exercise in a Nissan Navara, kindly provided by Nissan South Africa. Here the teams have to complete the first part of the tight obstacle in reverse and try and nudge a tennis ball off its perch. And then there's a sharp descent and an easy climb, followed by a return route back to the starting point. This is Johan Swift and Dieter Schaap, winners of the Lichtenberg event earlier this year. They normally campaign a Jeep Rubicon, so let's see how they take to the double cab bakkie. With Dieter giving advice, Johan reverses and oh crikey! He touches one pole. He gets the Navara into the parking area at the first attempt. Johan completely misses the tennis ball on its perch. He takes another run at it and kind of hits an ace, with the ball landing on the Navara's back. Now the reversing bit is done, and Johan and Dieter easily dispatch the rest of the obstacle. It's time to head to the shops. When we return, the action hots up at the 2013 Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge Final. This is the Isuzu obstacle, and a snazzy new KB300 D-Tech 4x4, kindly on loan from Leisure Wheels magazine, waited for the teams. This is Idmar Marx and Johan Bischoff from the Mercedes-Benz G-Extreme Club. They normally drive a Geländewagen with a short wheelbase and front and rear differential lockers. So let's see how they handle the much longer bakkie that only has a rear locker. The Mercedes lads are doing well. Now they just have to complete a difficult reversing test.
Ek kan nog nie balkies sien. Net draai skerp. Skerp regs af, skerp. Gaan. Ja, skerp.
And they do a great job.
Dit was my eerste ry.
Next up is former Bridgestone Fundi champions Marco and Joe Marinkovic, who are also Ben's boys. Marco drives a double cab bakkie as a daily runner, so he should feel right at home in the Isuzu's cabin. The team dispatches the first part of the test without issue, and now it's just that tricky reverse down the decline between the poles.
Tel jy al op? Nee, nog nie. Kijk, ek sien een aan my kant.
Okay, watch on net.
But Marco and Joe also do a splendid job, missing those poles. So it seems the Geländewagen teams are doing rather well, despite not being armed with their super-duper Geländewagens. Marco is as diplomatic as ever, playing down the Benz boys' performance.
Yeah, no, yes, we're used to the short wheelbases, but it's a different day to day and we're enjoying it really a lot. Especially the previous obstacles, they caught us out nicely.
This is the 4x4 Community Forums obstacle, and they've got a Nissan hardbody on duty here. And this is Kobus van der Merwe. His navigator, Vian Smit, is the person of direction for this test. The obstacle starts off with a sharp crest, followed by a tight turn to the left and a steep climb. Oh dear, Kobus takes out one pole, but for the rest of the Lichtenbergians, they do very well. On we go then, to the obstacle where there may or may not be a few oil leaks. Next is the Land Rover Owners Club test, assisted here by the Landy Experience Geratech crew, a Landy Defender and the Experience's 4x4 pod. And these are the members of the Jeep Club, who for the first time ever have to drive a Landy Defender in an off-road kind of vibe. This is Jimmy Olds, and Bertus Badenhorst is the points man. The Landy has to scale a steep slope and gently nudge a pole, but getting the right momentum is key here, and that wasn't it. Now the Landy has to negotiate a tricky side slope business, with lots of those irritating poles all over the show. Next is a wide U-turn, because this Landy's turning circle is worse than that of the USS Kitty Hawk aircraft carrier. Once they're over the trailer business, the Jeep men have to tackle some artificial axle twisters. And besides the 4 poles they took out earlier, Jimmy and Bertus did a splendid job here. Well, sort of. Let's move on to the next obstacle. The McCarthy 4x4 Club's obstacle is quite a tricky one. The teams have to drive a Toyota Hilux and they have to pilot it up a slippery incline, through some mud, and then finally stop the Lux on a steep downhill section where they have to stop within a certain distance of the finishing line. These are the 4x4 community lads, and Corné van der Merwe and Freddie Siebert are up first. Oopsie daisy, the Hilux is stopped in its tracks by the slippery slope. After figuring out the rear differential lock and engaging it, the Toyota gets up the muddy hill without pains. Next, Corné has to get through the muddy patch, and he does it in the end. Now, just that precision stop on the decline. And Corné stops just short.
85 more.
So that didn't go very well at all. The Hilux seems to have confused Corné some.
Trying to understand the car. This one didn't want to go into 4-wheel drive. It wasn't 4-wheel drive, but I don't know. Don't know what the problem was.
Maybe it was that button that says diff lock that wasn't pressed? Either or, here is Wayne Harvey and Yuri Deprier. Let's see if the Mahindra Thar lads can master the Toyota's buttons and tricks. No. Wayne also gets stuck on the same section. With that magic diff lock button engaged, the Hilux sails up the hill no worries. Next is the mud, and Wayne doesn't spare the Japanese horses here, as he charges through like the light brigade. Now just the stop, and Wayne gets it rather wrong. Oh dear.
What the obstacle, man?
Because you lost.
Time for another break. On the other side, there are a few tough obstacles left on the menu, and we find out who will be crowned the 2013 Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge champions. We're back at Geratech, and this is Obstacle 8, courtesy of the Off-Road Adventure Club of SA. The teams have to drive a Ford Ranger, sponsored by Action Ford in Krugersdorf, on a set course between those poles, and do a reverse test and driver swaps along the way. The reverse is tricky because the driver has to just nudge the first pole without that pole touching the second one. So let's see how the guys from the Mercedes-Benz G-Extreme team roll here. Now that reverse. And oh no, that's one can of soda killed dead right here. Now the Merc team has to take over for the next section. And they manage to steer clear of any poles. And now for the last crew. And oh dear, they clip a pole here. So even though this obstacle looks dead easy, it turns out to be a bit of a big hole where points were thrown in. The next obstacle is a mixed bag of steep angles and a reverse axle twister in a supplied Toyota Hilux 4-litre V6. This is Danny Daniels and Chart Skierpers, winners of their own McCarthy 4x4 Club event. Let's ride with them. With just the right amount of momentum, the team easily makes it up that steep incline. Now for the reverse test. And they do a quite brilliant job. Taking out just one pole along the way. That was a very well executed job. Now it's time for something a little bit, well, faster. This is the Mercedes-Benz obstacle, and as you can see, it's not a Geländewagen 4x4 that is parked on the skid pan ready for action. Instead, it's a Mercedes E63 AMG with a twin-turbo V8 engine that delivers 410 kilowatts of power and 720 newton-meters of torque, on loan from Mercedes-Benz South Africa. Here, the drivers have to complete a short gymkhana course, with the rear wheel-driven AMG's traction control system switched off. So the idea here is not massive speed, but rather a delicate right foot and a steady run without hitting any cones or missing gates. This is Idmar Marx behind the steering wheel, with co-driver Johan Bischoff in the rear seat. The marshal in the passenger seat is there to make sure the drivers don't go stupid in the expensive bends. With the last bit of sideways, Idmar completes the obstacle in the best time of the day. Hey, that's Wimpy Olified, the official ambassador of Lichtenbergian. Let's see how he handles 410 of the finest German kilowatts. Yep, judging by that smile on his face, it looks as if the ambassador is pleased. He's been rendered speechless, and this is quite unusual. This is the last obstacle, and it's a bonus one, to help the teams possibly make up some of the many lost points during the day. The obstacle was hosted and the vehicles supplied by Conqueror Trailers Midrand and Zambezi. The teams had to reverse the Conqueror trailer into a simulated parking bay with an opposite lock-equipped Hilux, without hitting any poles. Sounds easy, right? This is hop-along Adriaan Oukamp, who broke his leg in the months leading up to the final. With a host of manual cars in the final, driving duty was left to his co-driver, Gerrit van Wyk. Oh dear. No, Gerrit, the other left. No, the other way. Oh, whatever. Let's just say that didn't work out very well at all.
I think we're going to have to go forward. Okay.
And so, after a long day in the saddle, it was the end of the 2013 Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge Final. Now the question was, which team had adapted best to the foreign 4x4 machinery? Which team had scored consistently well? Which team had kept track of all the little environmental challenges along the way? As a final twist in the tale, Conqueror announced that it had decided to upgrade the 50,000 Rand off-road trailer to a 100,000 Rand off-road trailer. The stakes had been raised to new heights. Here we go. In third place, and proving that his Gelandewagen is really cool, but that the nut that holds the steering wheel is also quite alright, was Ben's lad Idmar Marx, with Johan Bischoff in the co-pilot seat. The team won a 10,000 Rand gift voucher from Bridgestone SA. And in second place, Lichtenbergians Johan Swift and Dieter Skarp. The Jeep Wrangler Rubicon crew also silenced a few critics with their outstanding performance. They win a fully adjustable Tough Dog suspension worth 20,000 Rand from Opposite Lock. But since the Jeep already has an aftermarket suspension fitted, Opposite Lock swapped the suspension prize for other cool off-road equipment that Johan and Dieter will fit to their 4x4s. And now for the grand prize. Outlasting, out-adapting, out-thinking, out-4x4ing, out-AMGing, and outperforming all the other crews of the day were Danny Daniels and Chart Skierpers. Applause. The Jeep Grand Cherokee crew from the McCarthy 4x4 Club had done it and had beaten 29 of the best 4x4 club teams in the country. They win that brand new Conqueror trailer, which they received a few weeks later at Conqueror's head office in Heidelberg. Congratulations again on a job well done. And that, as they say, is that. The 2013 Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge is done and dusted. It's been an amazing year of 4x4 action, and in 2014, the 4x4 Club Challenge is set to continue to cater for standard production 4x4s. If you want to get in on the action, get in contact with your local 4x4 club or visit www.bridgestone.co.za for more information. That's us then. See you in 2014. The 4x4 Club Challenge was brought to you by Bridgestone. Your journey, our passion.